Hi there, and welcome to Gaining Vision. I'm Melanie. Thanks so much for joining. A couple videos ago, we were talking about overcoming fear, and I promised you a part 2 with some other tools that you could use. So here we are. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please like and share if you feel so inclined. So first things first, fear isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. It will tell us if we're in danger. It will show us if something is not a good situation to go to. Remember as a child when we were told not to touch the stove when it was hot? We probably did it that once because we wanted to try it out and we got burnt. So automatically we're afraid of doing that again. So again, fear isn't always a bad thing, but a lot of us look at it as if it is a bad thing because we get anxious, we get that really terrible feeling. The hairs on the back of our neck may stand up, our stomach would get in knots, and we get anxious. So there are some tools that I have identified that worked for me when overcoming certain fears. The first thing we have to do is identify what we're afraid of. So we may be afraid of spiders or snakes, or the dark, or the fear of the unknown, or in today's society, the fear of COVID-19. So once you identify and accept that you're afraid of it, that's the first step. We then need to understand and feel the emotions that we feel when we hit that fear. So that sweaty palms, a little bit of sweat, uncomfortable feeling, nausea, all those feelings. We have to be okay with feeling that for that moment because it means that we're connected to those emotions. So once we feel those emotions, we have to understand why we're feeling that and why we're feeling fear of that situation. It could be that we're afraid of what may happen. Or it could be because we've had a bad experience in the past with it, so that fear is still there based on something we've experienced in the past. So once we've identified it, we've accepted it, and we've got comfortable with how we feel about it, we then need to say it out loud. And why I say we have to say it out loud is we have to tell somebody that we're afraid of it. Whether it's your friends, your family, to yourself in the mirror, or to a trusted professional. Because when you say it, it makes it real. The next step you need to do is you have to educate yourself about that fear. So for example, if you're afraid of heights, find out and educate yourself why people are afraid of heights. Also, you may want to research how many people, when they're up high, have fallen and died. Because let's face it, fear can be something very small, but when we're in a state of fear, we catastrophize and we think of a worst case scenario. So if I'm going to go up this ladder to change the light bulb and I'm afraid of heights, what is the likelihood that you're going to fall and die? Probably very small. But you wouldn't know all the facts unless you educate yourself on something like that. If we're dealing with COVID-19, we want to really educate ourselves on the facts. And yes, sometimes the stats and the numbers can be very overwhelming. When we look at the stats through the media, they're going to tell us how many people have COVID-19 and how many people have died from it. Those numbers can be overwhelming, can be scary, but also may bring some realistic. I'll just talk about Wasaga Beach. My mom lives in Wasaga Beach in Ontario, and they only had 11 cases. I think they have about 21,000 people living there. So when you weigh the numbers of how many people live there and only 11 cases, it's not as scary as it may seem. But if you look at Ontario as a whole, you may hear that 300 and some odd people per day are being diagnosed with COVID. But again, look at the population of Ontario. Is it that drastic? Now, no death is a good thing, let's face it. But a lot of people have COVID-19 and they're not dying from it. They have symptoms, they go through it, it's not fun, but they're coming up on the other side after it, just like the flu. So after you've researched and you educated yourself about the facts, the next thing you have to understand is how you can deal with it. And what I mean by that is, how can you address this fear so that you can overcome it? So with COVID-19, we understand the facts. We know what they're telling us: social distancing, staying home, as well as wearing masks, gloves, things like that, washing our hands. So then we have those things. So now we know what we can do to prevent this thing from happening. So we're not going to catastrophize. We have resources now that we can deal with overcoming that fear. But what we have to do now is practice. And what I mean by practice, it may even be role playing or talking it through with your friends and family and practicing how you're going to handle it. Because really, truly, we don't have controls over situations that happen in our life, but we do have control over how we deal with the situation, how we react. So I could say, oh my goodness, if I go outside, I'm going to die from COVID-19, and overreact and catastrophize the situation. But if I have all the facts, I've educated myself, and I practice how I'm going to react to it, such as, okay, I'm going to make sure I have my mask, I have my gloves, I need to go to the grocery store, I'm going to line up, I'm going to social distance, I'm going to get my items, and I'm going to come home. I'm going to take off all the things, I'm going to shower, wash my hands, disinfect the surfaces, the groceries, put it away. You have control of the situation now. So the fear will slowly start to diminish. The other thing, so now let's just recap. We've identified our fear, we've dealt with the emotions and how we're feeling, we've put it out to the world, we've said it out loud. We understood how we felt, we've educated ourselves, and we've practiced how we're going to react. So now putting it all into action. The first thing what I like to do is put a plan of attack. How am I going to handle the situation, and how am I going to deal with the emotions that I feel? When you have a plan, you feel like you're more in control. You feel like you can deal with what's in front of you. Now, let's face it, not every plan works, things happen, we get distracted, we get discouraged. So I always like to have plan A, B, and C at least. So you go plan A, you go do your groceries, you come back, you've done all the routines that you've had planned, and then you hear in the media that there was a case of COVID-19 at that grocery store you're just at. Right away, the fear hits, the anxiety is there. We start to overreact, we start to catastrophize the situation. So we need to really have plan B. Okay, plan B, I did plan A, I came home, I did what I could do to control it. So now I need to just focus on educating myself again. So you're going to find out how many cases were there. Was it somebody I came in contact with? All of those things, so that, again, you're in control. So the fear diminishes when you seem to have control of the situation. You also want to surround yourself with positive people that are going to encourage you to help you overcome the fears you're dealing with. If you're surrounding yourself with people that are totally panicking about the situation, over-dramatizing it and catastrophizing it, that's not going to help your cause. But if you have people that say, you know what, I understand how you're feeling, it's okay, but you've got this, you can overcome it. Last time we talked about positive affirmations, and you want to do that too. You've got that. So I think last time I talked about overcoming the fear of applying for a job, because fear can eat you up because you're thinking in that negative voice in your head. So the positive reaffirmations and surrounding yourself with people that are supportive and help encourage you to overcome this fear is vital. These are some tools that have helped me no matter what your fear may be. So hopefully you'll be able to adjust them and put them into context for your own fear. So what is it that you're afraid of? What's holding you back? Try and add some of these tools to the situation. So I encourage you, let's recap. Identify your fear, accept it, feel and understand your emotions. Educate yourself, practice, put a plan in place, and then put it together and know that you can control how you react to the situation. Positive reaffirmations, and surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you to overcome that fear. The more this becomes a habit and you do it naturally, you'll notice and you'll see how quickly that fears that you have had for a long time may slowly start to ease away. Hopefully these tips will help you, and I encourage you to share them with others. Please don't forget to subscribe to the station, like and share. Until next time, I'm Melanie, and this is Gaining Vision. Mwah!